Welcome back, everyone. It is Steve Adler, aka Ace, your favorite Sorare manager. And this week, I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about how I put together lineups. That seems to be one of the questions I get the most from newer people joining Sorare is, well, how do you determine who you play where? So I jotted down some notes. I thought this was information I'd like to share. Use it, don't use it, up to you. But I felt like this was meaningful information for people who are trying to they're new, they've got 25, 30 cards, they don't really know where to play them. They're getting frustrated because they're not getting results that they want. And by the way, I think it's important to note, everybody has rough weeks. Everybody has multiple rough weeks. That's the way it goes in baseball. That's the way it will go with your teams. I did post a tweet earlier this week because I had a rough weekend. I believe all my teams won a couple T4, T5 cards. Nothing exciting. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you get shut out. So the only thing I can do is help you to try to put your best foot forward. Just because you have good players doesn't mean you're always going to win. Just because you have some scrubs doesn't mean that you can't get in the mix. And for those of you who have looked at my gallery, you know I have a ton of studs, but I don't always win. And that's the beauty of the variance in MLB, but that also has to do with a lot of the matchups. I know going into a week if I've got a solid shot with my players or if I'm just hoping for the best. So I'm going to walk through some things, and I think the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, what are you trying to do when you're setting your lineups? Are you trying to go big? Are you trying to build? Do you need a larger gallery so you can play in more tournaments? Are you trying to play in limited right now and you want to move up? What are you trying to do exactly? Are you just trying to win some cards that you can flip? Are you trying to win Ethereum? What are you trying to do? So you need to have that conversation with yourself before you really bought anything. You probably should have had that conversation with yourself. Otherwise, you're just trying to buy guys that you think will play well and hold value and hope for the best when you play them in lineups. Figure out what you want to do. So for myself, I try to do a little bit of the combination. And I'd say that, and I know it can be a little confusing, but I say that because my gallery is large enough that I can play around a little bit with it. If you don't have a big gallery, it makes it really hard to be able to divide and conquer. So I say I try to build because I try to enter lineups that I think can win at least a tier 3 every single time. All my rares, all my super rare lineups, I put together so they can win at least a tier 3. When I say I try to win and I win big, I want to win Ethereum. I want to get a podium. I think this year I finished 4 times on the podium for Super Rare Pro. I design my lineup specifically for Super Rare Pro. That is my emphasis when I go into the game week. With that being said, yours might be limited pro. It might be rare pro. It could be you're just in build mode. So you're focusing on all-star, NL, AL. It's up to you. But you've got to figure that out. So a couple keys I wrote down. First thing is play to your strengths. During the weekend, everybody's on an even playing field because for the most part, outside of Mother Nature, everyone is going to play 3 games. So yeah, there might be a random doubleheader. You might get a rain out, but everybody for the most part is anticipating playing 3 games heading into the weekend. So everyone's on an even playing field. So what you're doing at that point is you're looking at matchups. Who's got good matchups? Who's facing soft pitchers? I know that there are certain players that I will play if I see that they're going to face 2 lefties on a weekend. If they're playing in a more hitter-friendly ballpark, if a player's been hot, I try to ride the hot hand. During the week, it's a little more challenging because you're basically fishing for 4 gamers. Now, the way I look at it, if you're facing a stud pitcher, so your hitters are facing a stud pitcher like a Garrett Cole or a Shane McClanahan, I tend to look at that like I'm anticipating them not scoring much, if anything at all, that game. And that allows me to digest this. So if I have a player who has a 4-game week, but they're playing against a Cy Young caliber pitcher, then I look at it like it's almost like a 3.25 games, assuming that they're probably not going to have a lot of success against that pitcher. I don't look at a lot of pitchers like that, but that's the way I look at it. So if I've got 2 4-gamers and one is facing a stud in one of those games, I try to avoid that. I will likely go with the other player that has 4 games, assuming they're close. So if I'm playing, for example, Bo Bichette or Trey Turner, I had that happen this week. So I had Trey Turner, I have Bo Bichette on my super rare teams. I decided to go with Trey Turner. I liked his matchups more. Now I know that Bo Bichette has been hitting better, but I liked Trey Turner's matchups more. Bo Bichette was facing Shane McClanahan this week. So, and by the way, they are neck and neck in points right now. So we'll see how the Phillies game goes today. I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon. So, point being, during the week, you're typically going to jump on as many games as you can. However, look at who they're facing. Now, I put together a little chart. I think I posted it on Twitter maybe once or twice. But I put together a little chart for me. By the way, Sorare data, Sorare FP, wealth of information. I use them as well. I put together a little cheat sheet for myself. It's not terribly scientific. If you ever want to peek at it, I'm happy to share it. It kind of is what it is. And I'll run through some stuff just to kind of give you an idea heading into this weekend. But it's a little exercise that helps me digest this information a little easier. And that way, if I have matchups that are close-ish, it allows me to make a decision. So, play to your strengths. Games, look at who they're facing, know what you're getting into. Don't spread your lineups out. If you can win 1 tier 2, that's better than winning 3 tier 5s or even 3 tier 4s. So do not spread your lineups out. You want to put your best foot forward. Put your best lineup together where you want to win. If you're trying to win Ethereum, if you're trying to play in the pro contests, then obviously that's where your studs are going. Those are your best matchups. If you're trying to build, then the likelihood that you can play and win a prize is going to be in the other competitions. Now, at the beginning of the season, the NL and the AL competitions were not as heavily loaded. So the likelihood that you could win something in those divisions was better than playing an All-Star. Now it's flattened out. It's pretty similar. So what you have to figure out is, can I put let's assume everything's equal. You have Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman on the NL side. You've got Vladimir Guerrero and some other stud. Let's say I normally use Aaron Judge because the Series 1 Aaron Judge is a first base card. Or maybe use Shohei Ohtani at your first base if you're not pitching him. It makes it a little more challenging when you have all those decisions to make. If you have those decisions to make and your rosters are very balanced, then you can just do your NL and your AL and then whatever's left make your All-Star team with. It's that simple. If they're not, like mine aren't. If you ever look at my rare cards, I have a ton of American League studs, and I do not have that many National League guys. Obviously, it doesn't hurt that Manny Machado went down, but I don't have a lot of National League superstars. So for me, I'm basically scratching and clawing to try to put together a solid National League rare team. Whereas the AL team, I can put together my pro team, my all-star team, and my AL team without a problem. So play to your strengths. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. And figure out where you want to go. You need to put your best players all in the same deck. Do not try to spread them out over various competitions. And do not think this through too much to the fact that you get to the end of the week and you're going, wow, I won 2 tier 4 and tier 5, but if I just would have played the right guys, then I would have won a tier 2. or I could have had a chance at a podium. You don't want to do that to yourself. It does happen. It's going to happen. It's baseball. Random things happen. Guys on the Cubs are swinging it right now. It's not going to be like that all year. These things do happen. It's okay. The Blue Jays put up 20 runs the other night. 20 against Tampa, who has a really good bullpen. So these things do happen. Load them up. Load up your studs. That's what we just talked about. And small stacks, meaning I'm not a huge fan of big stacks, team stacks. So let's say the Astros this week, they're going to Oakland. It's a favorable matchup, even though they struggled against Oakland last weekend at home. It is a very favorable matchup because of the pitchers they're facing. So for me, I look at that and I have an Astro stack. I have Bregman, Tucker, Jordan, and Altuve. I'm not going to go out of my way to start Abreu there. So I have a full Astro stack. Like, I'm not going to do that. So for me, if I can start a guy like Trout, I'm going to start Trout there, or Devers, or Judge. But I'm going to start somebody really solid in that spot. Now for me, I have that Astro stack, but Altuve, I have him in rare and super rare. So that is likely a stack that I will play in super rare all-star because it's still mixed right now. So while it's mixed rarity, obviously things are a little different. Once we go full rarity, eventually that'll change. But I'm going to go ahead and run my Astro stack in the super rare all-star. So I'll find a super relief pitcher. I'll throw in one of my stud outfielders. I think right now I have Luis Robert slated to start there. So as long as he's okay. And then I'll run that Astro stack. But point being, I'm not going to go out of my way to put Jose Abreu in that lineup. If I'm running a Padres stack, I'm going to start, assuming Machado's healthy, I'm going to start Machado, Tatis, Soto. Maybe I'm going to start Xander. I'm definitely not going to go out of my way to start Jake Cronenworth and put Trey Turner or Bobby Witt Jr. On the bench. So keep that in mind. Don't force it, but use your stacks. Now, as I mentioned, I do put together a little cheat sheet for myself, and I just thought I'd take a minute and share this. I know I did I think I did on the last one. But some of the easiest matchups. So if you're watching this on Thursday, you're preparing your lineup for Friday. These are some of the hitters that have the easiest matchups this week. The 5 teams with the easiest matchups. Boston, Houston, Kansas City, the Angels, and the Mets. Boston's in Arizona. Houston at Oakland. We know about Oakland. Kansas City and Washington. Both of them have terrible pitchers going on both sides. So Washington is actually a solid play if you happen to have any Nationals. The Angels are facing the Marlins, and that is going to be in Los Angeles, which is a hitter-friendly ballpark, technically Anaheim. And the New York Mets are in Colorado. So obviously anytime someone's in Colorado, you start them. The hardest matchups, ironically as I say that, Colorado has a tough pitching matchup. Obviously the ballpark factors will come into play, but they've got a tough pitching matchup against the Mets. The Marlins are a tough matchup. The Minnesota Twins are a tough matchup. Oakland against the Astros this weekend is a tough matchup, and Pittsburgh is also a tough matchup. So there you go. If that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to share the sheet. You can also put together your own sheet. Check out the information. It's on fantasypros.com. I just look at hitter planners and pitcher planners, and then I go from there. If you're looking for help with decisions, SorareMLB is a fantastic resource for this. Alex puts a sheet together. You just find your player. You find the player that he projects to have the most points. You start the guy. You don't really have to think too much about it. And I know Sorare Data does something similar. I think they work off a RotoWire. So everybody's got their own projections. That's what you need to know. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up directly. You can find me on Discord. I'm aced out on Discord. You can find me at Sorare Aces on Twitter. I'm happy to help. I do not have all the answers, but I'll at least give you an honest opinion of players and what you could do with your lineup. I can show you what I do with my lineup. That's the beauty of transparency. Anybody can go on Sorare Data, look up my account, aced out, and you can see my lineup. So you can see a trend, you can see what I'm looking at. It's pretty easy stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hope you guys enjoyed the how to put together your Sorare lineups, and I'll see you online. Good luck this game week.